Perfect. I am here with executive producer of Terrifier 2, Steve Barton. How you doing, Steve?
Tired.
Hi. I
I'm
can
very
imagine.
tired.
Congratulations on the success of the movie, man. Like this is
Thank
getting
you.
bigger and bigger as time's going on.
It's craziness. It's
It's
it's really, really craziness. It's craziness in the best way possible.
oh, I can imagine. And just I saw you guys went to the convention and stuff. That must have been an amazing time.
Yeah, that was the first time we were all out, I guess, in public together
Hmm.
since I guess the explosion, for lack of a better term, and it was like getting shot out of a cannon into speeding traffic, or fold up shop and go home. So
Yeah.
we said, fuck it, let's try it, right?
Hmm.
They gave me like hundreds of movies to watch, and I literally hated every one of them. And then maybe, and this is my baby, right? I want Dread Central to come out the gate with a winner, not just any shitty movie.
Yeah.
So I wasn't having any luck, and Damien Leone wrote me. He's like, "Hey, I got this movie. You want to take a look at it?" And I was like, "Sure." At this point, there was nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
And I watched Terrifier, and then I watched it again, and I watched it again, and I was like, "All right, this is it. This is the movie."
Yeah.
And I got them to agree to distribute it. And what unfortunately happened was they ended up hating the movie, and they were like, the world already has a killer clown movie because Stephen King's It was already in theaters. This movie's way too violent. It's not marketable. It has a stupid name. Can we edit it? And I said, listen, if you touch a frame of this movie, it's no longer
Yeah.
Terrifier.
Yeah.
And it just grew worse and worse and worse until one point, I'd been doing Dread Central for 18 years at this time.
Oh wow.
And it got to the point with them where they were so unhappy with me, and because they wanted a yes man, and I'm a lot of things, but a yes man, no,
Yeah.
sorry, not going to happen. And I said to them, listen, if this movie doesn't perform the way I think it's gonna,
Hmm.
I'll quit. You could have my company. I'll walk away. And
So you put a lot on the line for it.
I put everything I had on the line for the first one.
Yeah.
All I had.
Yeah.
And I think they took me up on it because it was an easy way to get rid of me, because I already said I would leave if the movie flopped. And yeah, man, it came out and it became their best seller.
Yeah.
And fucking, I quit anyway because fuck them.
Well,
The time came to do Terrifier 2, and we smashed our crowdfunding goal in 3 hours.
wow.
And, at that point, when Damien came to me, I'm like, listen, dude, I have to be involved, not because I didn't have anything else, which I didn't, but because this series was already ingrained on me. It's like it's in my DNA.
Yeah.
So once we hit our crowdfunding goal, it was time to get to work. And it's funny, for all the hyperbole around the movie, it's only the work of like 9 people. Other
That's
than, other than
amazing.
other than the cast and a few carpenters, only like 9 people were there every day.
Hmm.
And it's the blood, the sweat, and the tears of 9 people.
Yeah.
And it took
It really.
it took 3 years to make. We had a great time doing it, and even when we weren't having a good time, we goofed around enough to make sure it was a good time. And when it came time to distribute it, we were getting ready to self-distribute, and just do it ourselves. And then Bloody Disgusting and Cinedigm and Screambox came into the picture. And they were like, hey, we want to do this. We believe in this movie. It's funny, too. They're like, we want to put this in theaters. And we're like, the normal filmmaker would be like, that's great. And we were like, really?
I couldn't believe it when I heard that it was going to the theater.
Neither could we. We were like, this movie? Did you watch this movie? And
You
And
saw the first one, right?
yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
they did it. And we thought we were supposed to get, October 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then we were going right to home video.
Hmm.
And then the nickel happened. All shut up. Every one of you went to see this movie.
Yeah,
And we made $1,200,000 at the box office the first few days.
that's
And
crazy.
we all had we fucking cried, we cheered. It was a real roller coaster of emotion for us to know that we did that, because that was completely unexpected. And
Oh,
they said, we're going to keep you another week. And I was like, we
yeah,
were like, okay, only the caveat was, for the second week, AMC wasn't involved.
yeah,
And so we were at 300 less theaters. And then we ended up making more money than we made the first week. And then
yeah,
everybody was on.
yeah.
And
What do
people
you think?
started painting and whatever. It was weird, man.
What do you think it is about art and about the Terrifier movies that just resonates with horror fans and slasher fans? What do you think it is that really
I think
resonates with people that blew up so big?
I think the answer to that. First of all, I'm just seeing the crowd comments now. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
We'll
for
top
joining us.
it. If we do 3, we will top it. I promise. It's gonna be fucking hard. We'll figure it out. Listen, I think it's a combination of a few things. I think it's a combination of, I mean, let's face it, the last several years, we've had a really shitty few years,
Yeah. Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
absolutely.
tragedy, a lot of terrible things happening, a lot of unfortunate death, and just horrific way worse than anything any filmmaker could dream up. And I think that being that Terrifier 2 is like this little movie with no fucks to give, I think it enabled people just to sit in the theater and blow off some fucking steam, man, and just
Yeah.
sit back and have a good time with it. So I think that everybody was just ready to have fun, and there's no real underlying messages of Terrifier 2 other than take the ride. And I think people appreciated that because they were able to just sit in the dark and have a good time, and this and that. And then, when reports came out, and we found out, just like the rest of you, that people
Mm,
were fainting, people were
yeah.
puking, we thought that was bullshit too,
Yeah.
because we had zero marketing budget, we still
Yeah.
don't have a marketing budget, which is hilarious. And
Yeah.
I wish we could say we even thought of that. We weren't even smart enough to think of something like that. It just started happening. And I think once that started happening, this movie became kind of like the forbidden fruit, like the movie people were daring each other to go see.
Yeah.
And I think that had a lot to do with it too. So I think it has a lot to do with people wanting to have fun, and people just wanting to be a part of something that everyone else says is really dark or bad. Like, again, that forbidden fruit.
Yeah, and it's what a ride it is, man. I
No,
mean,
no,
the movie is one hell of a ride, especially those people fainting and everything. I'd have to imagine that, because when you think about it, it's like, did they see Terrifier 1? Like, so
well,
I don't know. There's people saying, "Oh, Halloween! It's Halloween time. The Killer Clown movie. Let's go see that," and had
yeah,
no idea what they were getting into.
I think it's that. I think there were a lot of people that didn't know that what they were getting into. They just wanted to go see a horror movie around Halloween, which I think is fucking hilarious, because if you've seen the first Terrifier, then you kind of knew what you were getting yourself into. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And I think it was that, and I think it was also the fact that the movie is good. It's an actually good movie, and I say that without ego. Okay, there's a fine line between confidence and ego, and we were confident we made something good. What we didn't expect was how universally embraced it would be.
Yeah.
You know, because you guys have given us such incredible gift with this movie. And you know what? That was how we went into the sequel. When the original Terrifier came out, everybody supported it. And there were murals of Art the Clown, and there were tattoos, and people started making their own shit. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? So the fans gave us something so special with how they treated the first one that when it came to the second one, we wanted to try to give you guys something special back,
Yeah,
And
you absolutely did.
we tried our hardest. That's why you got a 2-hour, 18-minute fucking slasher movie. And
And it doesn't feel that long either when you're watching it. Like it that flies by. Like usually, a lot of people I've heard in the past say, slasher film should be 90 minutes. And
why though?
well,
Just
if
why?
exactly if there's story and there's a plot to it that makes it worthy of being longer than that, why the hell not? And like I said, it flies by this movie just because you're so engrossed in it and just Art's character. I say all the time that I can't think of many modern slasher icons besides Art and Victor Crowley from the Hatchet series.
Thank you.
That's
And
all we have since 2000.
that's a
And
very important word you just said, horror icon. You'll never hear us say, and I think that's where a lot of filmmakers kind of fumble the ball, because how many movies have you seen marketed like, oh, we have the next horror icon, or the new horror icon is here?
yep.
You can't do that as a filmmaker. The only thing you could do as a filmmaker is try to make the best movie that you possibly can. It's the fans who bestow that honor. It's up to the fans to say who's the new horror icon, what's the new cult classic movie. You can't try to make that. It's something that just has to happen.
Happens organically.
Yeah, 100% organically. And you guys have been pretty loud, and we love you for that. And it's just been, this is such a personal thing to us, and it's personal in a way because we all love this shit. I mean, you look at Terrifier and Terrifier 2, you could see it was made by horror fans. There's no getting around that. And we all know that horror gets shit on. So the fact that we have this little success, and the fact that we did this all together, and when I say we, I just don't mean us. I mean you. I mean the people in the chat. I mean everybody who tweeted, Facebook post, puked, fainted, whatever. Okay, we all did that shit together. And for us, we're probably the most communicative with the fan base. You don't see the filmmakers from a lot of movies constantly interacting with the fans. We always do, because number one, we want you guys to know how grateful we are, because we are truly humbled and grateful for every bit of support that you give us. But we want you to know that you're not just on the same ride, you're in the same fucking car with us. We're fucking 9 horror fans from fucking New York that just said, fuck it, we're gonna make the movie we want to see, and we didn't compromise. Damien's a fucking genius, and I say that not there's a weight to that word, and I attribute it to Damien. He really is. He don't want to compromise. He wants to make the movies he wants to make, and that's a big part of the reason why the Terrifier films are as good as they are. It's him, man. It's him. It's Phil Falcone and Lisa Falcone. Without those two, these movies don't even exist. It's Jason Levy, it's Michael Levy, it's George Stuber, our fucking cinematographer. It's just Stephen Della Sala. It's everybody who showed up every day to try to bring their A game and make something cool. And the fact that we brought our A game, and then the fans brought their A game in terms of how they're going to support it, we all together made magic happen. And we're so grateful and humbled by this experience. I can't stress that enough.
So I think every single fan that could relate to that, because what you gave us with this movie and the first movie, I mean, I all the way back to when I saw All Hallows Eve and Damien Short's The Ninth Circle and Terrifier. I absolutely loved it back then. Like, I thought Damien was a genius. And then I saw Terrifier, and I said, "Wow, it's the same guy who made All Hallows Eve." And I saw Terrifier for the first time. I was blown away just because I love slasher films are my favorite. especially from the 80s, and just the practical effects and everything, and just his work with the practical effects in this movie and in Terrifier 1 are unbelievable. The effects that he pulls off.
I think that the effects are something that we're all really proud of, Damien, because Damien did all the effects.
Yeah.
And I think that the real people and fans, I mean, we're horror fans. We're fucking jaded. You show us some shit, we're going to sit there, we'll eat fucking spaghetti while we're watching it. We don't give a shit. But for the common fan that goes into these theaters who's used to seeing CG gore effects, which look good, but they don't look great. They don't look realistic. Whereas Damien, he makes his own blood. He does all the prosthetics, and he even goes to the butcher shop, and he'll buy bacon, buy ham, he'll buy fat and meat, because you can't get that realistic look without. I mean, nothing moves like real animal fat. Nothing tears like bacon. So the fact that these people were just sitting in this fucking theater and and Damien will put that camera where nobody else will put it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why people were getting sick. It's this whole thing doesn't make sense. If I were to tell you that any of this makes sense, I'd be lying. I mean, right down to Walmart getting a fucking exclusive on the Steelbook Blu-ray. Walmart, the same people who. Dude, they changed movie titles to make them more family friendly, but they're like, oh no, we need Terrifier. Like, what are you kidding me? None of this makes sense.
Real quick, because I know you're busy, so I don't want to hold you for too long. But what got you into horror in the first place?
Okay, I'm old. I'm old as fuck, dude. I'm 50, and thanks, but when I was a little kid, we had this giant black and white console in our room. It was heavy. Fuck, it was a TV. If it was heavy, you want to move it. So fuck it, put another TV on top, and now it's furniture, right? Good. I was always a night kid, I was always up in the middle of the night, and I knew that once my parents started snoring, and I heard that might go to the room to watch TV. That's when all the good shit was on. Yeah, man. So one night I went into the living room and I turned on the TV. I was 3 years old. I'll never forget it. It was like yesterday to me. And I put on the TV, and there was this newscast about the dead coming back to life. And we had to get to rescue stations. And I was like, holy shit, right? So I ran into my parents' bedroom, and I'm like, the dead are coming. We got to get to rescue stations. We got to go. I remember saying that. And my mom I pulled her out of bed. She's like, you're having a nightmare. I'm like, no, I'm not having a nightmare. And then my dad followed. He was super pissed. And of course, I brought them both to the living room. I pointed to the TV, and what was on was Night of the Living Dead. And that night, at 3 years old, I got my first ass whipping, and I remember laying in bed with my fucking butt throbbing and saying to myself, holy shit, dude, I was completely terrified and 100% safe all at the same time. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So it was that feeling I just kept chasing my whole life. And then 25, 30 years later, I got to share that story with George Romero. And George, I was lucky enough to have him become my mentor. And so he guided me along with Sid Haig. How fucking lucky am I to have Sid Haig and George Romero as mentors, to be able to talk to. And
amazing people and such great losses in the horror community when they passed.
And they taught me a lot, specifically George. Listen, one way or another, I've been at this for 27 years. And it's been rough. And I've sacrificed a lot sacrificed relationships. I sacrificed my company. I always tried to do what I believed was right, regardless of the repercussions. And George said to me, Steve, when things are easy and things are good and you're laughing, that's simple. It's the times when you're down and the times where you're flat on your ass and all you can do is look around you and go, how the fuck do I climb out of this one? That's when you're living. And he taught me to embrace those times. And it's the moments, the decisions you make during those moments that are going to dictate who you become, that are going to shape your character. So he taught me to embrace them and to not be scared of them and to try as hard as I could to make the most of them. Because when you're doing this for a living, dude, I spent the majority of my career eating ramen noodles and Little Debbie snack cakes just to survive.
Yeah.
I have made it to a lot of mountains and I've fallen off every end. But when you do this and it's something you want to do for a living, there isn't a plan B. It's either this or it's nothing. And I got to tell you, there was a lot of rejection, there was a lot of tears, a lot of pain, but just sticking this landing, just this one time, has made all of that so worth it. And I'm so indebted to every one of you who have followed me, who have cheered us on, who have made this incredible dream come true. And it's the best thing ever, and it's made everything worth it. So thank you.
Of course, man. Thank you for just making these amazing movies that are really, like we said, resonates with all us horror fans. That
it's a pleasure.
I can't wait. Terrifier 3.
We are not done. We have a lot more shit planned. And if you think you've seen fucked up stuff yet, you just wait.
I can't wait, man. I love all the fucked up stuff that we've seen so far, and I'm sure you guys will top that. With everything going forward. But
we're gonna die trying if we don't. I tell you that.
Awesome, man. I just want to thank you for coming on, man. It's a pleasure to have you on, seriously. And thanks everyone in chat for tuning in. And this is Steve Barton, everybody. This is one of many reasons we got such an amazing Terrifier 2 movie this year. And I'm sure we will keep seeing some crazy shit, as you said.
Oh, you will.
Thanks for coming on, Steve. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, chat. Take care, guys.